Introduction to Shenhao with a learning panel. If learning can give you both wealth and a strong body, would you be willing to study hard? Li Shi, who was about to lose his job, suddenly had a learning panel in his mind. By learning knowledge and skills, he could simultaneously increase his wealth and physique attributes. For every additional point of wealth, he could exchange 1 kilogram of any material he had before. Every additional point of physical fitness enhances 1/10 of a healthy adult's physical fitness. Chapter 1. 1 kilogram of gold in hand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The economic environment in the past 2 years has not been very good, and there have been rumors recently that the company is going bankrupt. Especially yesterday was the 8th day of the month, and the salary that was supposed to be paid was not received. The CEO came out and said that it would be delayed by half a month, causing panic in various departments. Someone is already secretly submitting resumes to look for someone else. Li Shi, 25 years old, majoring in Chinese language and literature at Tanzhou Normal University, has a monthly salary of over 5,000 yuan. He has been with the company for 2 years and has used his previous income, excluding living expenses, to pay off student loans and family debts. Currently, he has a deposit of 1,989.60 yuan, and his family still has more than 40,000 yuan in debt. If he loses his job, he may not be able to pay the rent for the next month. But at this moment, he was in a daze in his seat, completely indifferent to the discussions of his colleagues around him. Li Shi, which beauty do you want? Li Guiming slid over the chair and patted his arm. Li Shi suddenly woke up with a hint of panic in his eyes, but soon returned to normal. He made an excuse and said, "No, I'm thinking about what to do if the company really goes bankrupt." Li Guiming, a colleague who entered the company 1 year earlier than him, is 26 years old and has already divorced once. He is very overweight. The two are of similar age, have close office locations, and come from their own families, so they get along well in the company. He flexibly twisted his invisible neck, looked left and right, and whispered, "Let me tell you, don't rush to find a job. Those who rush to find a job are all ignorant of the law. I checked online and found out that if the company really goes bankrupt, according to relevant laws, we can get compensation. Please keep your labor contract and work permit safe, so that you can use them when applying for compensation in bankruptcy liquidation in the future." Li Shi's mind is now filled with a sudden learning panel that suddenly appears in his mind, and he doesn't care about anything else. However, whether the reminder to Li Guiming is good, he still tidied up his mind and said thank you. After work, the way of the earth will loosen its muscles and bones. I'll treat you, won't we? Finally, when it was almost time to finish work, Li Guiming slid his chair over again. The Way of the Earth is a famous massage chain store in Tanzhou City. Li Guiming often goes there. Li Shi wants to save money to pay off his debts, so he has been there twice. One time, Li Guiming treated him with force, and the second time, he didn't want to owe anyone a favor and invited Li Guiming back. They are all vegetarians. At least the 2 times Li Shi went, the price is not expensive, and for group buying, the average person is around 200 yuan. It's not convenient today, I have something else to do when I go back. Li Shi quickly refused. This time he is not afraid of spending money, but eager to go back and study the attribute panel in his mind. Okay, then tomorrow night. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Qinyuan Resettlement Community, a single room rented by Li Shi. He locked the door, pulled the curtains, and made sure that the inside was not visible from outside. Then, he turned on the lights, took out his red rice 9, turned on the camera function, and placed it on the dining table, using leftover white elephant instant noodle boxes to cushion it. Then he sat at the dining table, took 2 deep breaths, his consciousness immersed in his mind, and called out the learning panel. Name: Li Shi Physical Fitness. 9.5, an average attribute of 10 points for a standard adult healthy male, wealth. 0, excluding real wealth, learning. To be selected learning completion library. None, each subject or skill is divided into 5 levels. Entry. Level, proficient level, professional level, and master level. For each level of advancement, physical fitness attribute plus 1 point, and wealth attribute plus 1 point, only one subject or skill can be selected for learning at the same time. After selection, the branch or skill level of the subject must reach proficiency level before it can be changed. While taking a nap at the company this afternoon, Li Shi had a dream where he saw a vast nebula suddenly disappearing in front of him. He was suddenly awakened and had this learning panel in his mind. Consciously touching the panel, I gained a profound understanding of its function. Simply put, it means that he can increase the attributes of physique and wealth on the panel by learning knowledge, skills, and art. Physical fitness represents physical fitness. The average attribute of a standard adult healthy male is 10 points, and their initial attribute is 9.5, indicating that their body is currently in a sub-healthy state. The wealth on the panel does not refer to how much money there is in reality, but represents the amount of material that one can exchange for the panel. 1 point of wealth can be exchanged for 1 kilogram of any material that one has ever owned. Li Shi looked at the panel, his thoughts constantly touching, each item providing feedback. After studying for a while, he carefully conveyed his consciousness. Choose a learning direction. Select Chinese. As soon as his thoughts were conveyed, the panel underwent an instant change. Name: Li Shi. Physical fitness. 9.5 wealth. 0 learning. Chinese, not yet beginner, learning completion library. None. Li Shi, who graduated from the Chinese language and literature major at Tanzhou Normal University, is not surprised by the display of his Chinese language as not yet beginner on the panel. He knows that this does not represent his current true level, but he has not yet started formal learning. The panel needs to witness and record its complete learning process. He calmly hid the panel in his mind and picked up his phone to check the video. In the video, he could only see himself in a daze, with no other anomalies, and suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he searched online for Chinese language textbooks from elementary to high school. In a resource forum, he spent 10 yuan to buy a compressed package called PDF of a complete set of electronic textbooks for primary and secondary schools. Not only did he have Chinese language textbooks from elementary to high school, but he also had other subjects such as mathematics. Li Shi was quite happy to have been able to find the information he wanted smoothly, but when he finished downloading and decompressed it, his low.n phone, which had been in use for 2 years, froze and became speechless. When you have money, the first thing you do is change your phone. He had to take out his antique conscience laptop and download the resources again from the cloud storage. After finishing these tasks, it was already more than 7 o'clock in the evening. He was anxious to learn. He used a hot pot to boil water. After killing 2 bags of white elephant signature pig bone noodles and soup, he opened the PDF of the Chinese textbook in the first volume of the first grade of primary school. Literacy 1, Heaven, Earth, and People. Li Shi reviewed every word carefully, but after all, it was only elementary school content, which was too easy for anyone who had received 9 years of compulsory education. 1 page, 2 pages. Click continuously with the mouse to quickly read and pass the content. 7 or 8 minutes later, all the textbooks in the first grade textbook were reviewed, and the learning panel was summoned to take a look. The Chinese language being learned still displayed as not yet started. He didn't care and continued to open the textbook for the second volume of the first grade Chinese language. 10 minutes later, click on the second grade textbook again. 10 minutes later, Yu opened the second grade textbook at www.yuyukeangshu.net. Where does spring return? Loneliness has no way. If someone knows where spring is going, call them to come back and live together. No trace of spring, who knows? Unless asking for a aureole. No one can decipher the 100 melodies, for the wind flies over the roses. After Li Shi finished reading the last lesson of the 6th grade second volume, Huang Tingjian's poem, Qingping Lu, suddenly touched his mind and quickly called out the panel, name. Li Shi Physical Fitness. 9.5 plus 1, Fusion or not, Wealth. 1. Whether to exchange learning. Chinese, beginner. Learning completion library. None changed, really changed. Li Shi stood up excitedly, walked back and forth in the narrow space for a few laps, then quickly stood still and refocused his attention on the panel. He first used his mind to touch the fusion, after, physique, and immediately gave feedback. The expected fusion time is 5 hours. Quickly moving his mind away, the 1-point physique represents 1/10 of the physical fitness of a healthy adult. 5 hours is not a long time, but he can't wait now. Let's put it aside first. Rubbing his hands, Li Shi sat back at the dining table, unplugged the power, closed the computer, moved it to the bed, left the table empty, and then held his breath and chose, exchange 1 point of wealth for 1,000 feet of gold. In his junior year, in order to raise money for his mother's surgery, he once sold the only valuable item left by his father. A 20G gold bar. Bang! A palm-sized gold bar suddenly appeared in front of Li Shi out of nowhere, landing heavily on the wooden folding dining table, making a huge noise. The light shone brightly, and in Li Shi's eyes, a golden hue shone. Gold, really exchanged for gold. Chapter 2. First Physical Fusion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Shi held it in both hands, and the volume of 1 kilogram of Qianzujin was not large, only half the size of a palm, but it was heavy. Knock twice on the table, it makes a loud bang. His heart also thumped with it, really. Everything is true. After repeatedly rubbing it for a while, I grabbed my phone and searched for real-time gold prices using my browser. Today, the price rose quite well, reaching 405 yuan per gram. Call up calculator. 405 yuan per gram, 1 kilogram is 405 times 1,000, equivalent to 405,000 yuan. According to previous understanding, recyclers usually cost 10 yuan per gram less, which is 395,000 yuan. Looking at the result of the calculator, I couldn't help but grin and say, over 390,000 yuan. With this money, what's the remaining debt of over 40,000 yuan? In an instant, Li Shi felt the whole world laughing at him. He also laughed along, laughing laughingly. He glanced at the instant noodle box next to the table, his eyes suddenly sour, and tears rolled out. I'm such a silly boy, why cry about such a good thing? There is a golden house in the book, study and seize the time to learn. Li Shi brought his laptop over and placed it on a gold bar. He opened it and continued reading the Chinese textbook for the first volume of grade 1. Reading, Spring, Zhu Ziqing. Looking forward, the east wind is coming, and the footsteps of spring are approaching. He hadn't finished reading a text yet, so he reached out to touch the gold bar under the computer. After a while, he touched it again. No, it's too inconvenient to put the gold bar down. He lifted the computer, took out the gold bar, placed it in the bed, covered it with a blanket, and decided to clean it up without seeing it. Sitting back on the chair, my hands finally stopped moving this time, but my eyes couldn't help but stare at the bed. It took 7 or 8 minutes to read through 2 texts. The learning efficiency has significantly decreased. He sighed and said, I'm just a poor person getting rich at first sight. Sigh, I've been afraid of poverty in the past few years. It's time to slowly adjust my mindset, I am now someone with a learning panel. 1 point of wealth attribute can be exchanged for any material possessions I have ever had, by the way. He suddenly remembered that although gold was valuable, there were still many substances in the world that were more valuable than gold. Anyway, the mood of learning is not right now, so he took out his mobile phone and searched for the most expensive materials in Shangpu, TikTok and Station B. Ranked among the top 10 most expensive substances in the world, the first is the radioactive metal element californium. Natural reserves are scarce and rely almost on artificial synthesis, with a value of up to $27 million per gram. After more than 10 minutes, Li Shi couldn't help but sigh. The precious substances at the top were either radioactive rare elements or artificially synthesized sky-high-priced drugs. These substances could be worth tens of millions or even billions of dollars per kilogram. However, it was difficult to obtain samples of these things, and even if they were exchanged, they were not easy to sell. They were too eye-catching, and he couldn't explain their sources. Valuable jewelry is actually a choice. I don't want so much anymore, let's learn quickly first. After this interruption, Li Shi's mentality calmed down a lot. He took the gold bar out of his bed and placed it on the dining table next to the computer, continuing his studies. In junior high school, the content of the textbooks gradually becomes richer and deeper, and the learning speed has to slow down a bit. The textbook for the first volume of the first year of junior high school has a total of 149 pages, many of which are ancient Chinese poetry. After reviewing for over an hour, I finally finished the last unit and started reading the Introduction to Famous Works. Sun Xingyi tunes the banana fan, the traveler bid farewell to his spiritual blessings, rode his somersaults in clouds, returned to Tsuiyin Mountain, and arrived in an instant. However, the traveler withdrew his hands and feet and said, "Do you recognize uncle? I see that brother Niu is in love, and I'll spare your life. Quickly bring the fan to me to use." Luo Sha said, "Uncle, there is a fan. There is a fan. You come out and take it." The traveler transformed into his original form, took the fan, and shouted, "Am I here? Thank you for borrowing. Thank you for borrowing." He pulled away and walked forward. The young people quickly opened the door and let him out of the cave. After reading the first excerpt from Journey to the West, Li Shi couldn't help but think of the TV series version he had watched as a child. As mentioned online, there are actually so many beautiful actors in TV dramas who only focus on watching monkeys at that time, indicating that Monkey Brother's charm is really too great. Speaking of which, if Monkey Brother had an attribute panel, his physical attributes would probably be over 100,000, otherwise he wouldn't be able to withstand the Dan fire of the Tai Shang Lao Jun Bagua furnace. There is no limit to panel attributes, and continuous learning can accumulate attribute points. In the future. That night, Li Shi studied until after 1 a.m. and finally reviewed all the middle school Chinese textbooks. He took a shower and lay on the bed, with a gold bar placed next to his pillow that he could touch at any time, and then called out the learning panel, name. Li Shi Physical Fitness. 9.5 plus 1, Fusion or not, Wealth. 0 Learning. Chinese, Beginner Plus, Learning Completion Library. None after completing the first year of junior high school, Chinese, Beginner Level. Has become, Beginner Level. Now that I have learned the complete middle school Chinese textbook, it has become, Beginner Level Plus, again. I am about to be promoted to, Proficient Level, and I will continue to work hard tomorrow. He shifted his attention to physique, set an alarm for 6 hours on his phone, and then touched the panel with his mind. Choose to blend 1 point of physical fitness. Suddenly, his body felt warm and comfortable. He instantly became lazy from inside out, just like when he was a child, lying in his mother's arms on an autumn afternoon, basking in the sun on the steps in his hometown's yard. The sunshine was warm, and his mother's embrace was even warmer. The eyelids were heavy, and in just a few seconds, Li Shi could no longer resist the increasing drowsiness. He closed his eyelids and his breathing became long and deep. No dreams all night. At 7:30, before the alarm clock on his phone rang, Li Shi naturally woke up, stretched lazily, and felt comfortable all over. It's been a long time since I slept so soundly. He stood up and moved his body for a while, suddenly realizing that his 4-cornered shorts were a bit loose. He looked down and saw that his belly, which had grown up from eating cheap fast food outside in the past 2 years, had become much flatter overnight. The abdominal muscles that had previously been hidden in fat were also exposed. I waved my fist and jumped. A slight increase in physical attributes has brought about a 10% improvement, and he clearly feels that his strength, bounce, resilience, and other aspects have all improved significantly. My overall condition is very good, full of energy, comparable to when I was 18 or 19 years old. Call up the learning panel. Name: Leisure Physical Fitness. 10.5 Wealth. 0 Learning. Chinese, Beginner Plus, Learning Completion Library. None. A physical fitness of 10.5 points has already exceeded the standard healthy adult male limit of 0.5. In the future, I will continue to learn and improve myself. Li Shi sent a WeChat message to Li Guiming, asking him to write a personal leave note for himself and hand it over to the company's HR department. He then washed up and researched various tool book apps on his phone. As it was almost 9 o'clock, he used his 99 to buy a black backpack-wrapped gold bar that had been used for over 3 years and walked out. I spent 3 yuan downstairs and bought 2 meat buns at the Diyuan Baodian. I was about to use WeChat to make a call when my phone suddenly rang. It was from my female boss Wei Shulan. Wei Shulan is a beautiful and full career-oriented woman who usually takes her subordinates seriously. When Li Shi saw her number, she instinctively felt a little nervous. However, on second thought, she called just to ask about her leave. She now has a study panel and a job that pays a dead salary. It's okay if she doesn't approve her leave, it's nothing. With this thought, my heart suddenly relaxed. Chapter 3. 390,000 yuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Then you can count me as absent from work. 2 minutes later, Li Shi hung up the phone in a nonchalant tone, as the big-chested female boss spoke in a tone that was too domineering. He was in a hurry to sell gold and didn't have time to gossip with her. Anyway, even if the company doesn't go bankrupt, he has decided to resign. Using the newly added travel service feature on WeChat, I called a ride-hailing service to the east gate of the Provincial People's Hospital. The car arrived quickly, but as soon as he got on board, Li Guiming sent a WeChat message asking, "Did Wei Shufan call you? How do I see that her face seems to be angry? You won't scold her, will you?" What he meant by Wei Shufan was their immediate supervisor, Wei Shulan. After confirming the phone number and destination with the driver, Li Shi replied by typing, "She." Originally, I made a few roast. After thinking about it, I deleted it and changed it to "No, thank you today. I will invite you next time." Is it really fake? Forget it, I'll have enough to eat alone and the whole family won't be hungry. Let me invite you. I have a new membership and will go tomorrow night. Li Shi was taken aback for a moment, and after 2 seconds, he replied, "Okay." After chatting for a few words, the conversation ended. The journey took more than 20 minutes. Li Shi searched for the online Chinese textbook for the first year of high school using his mobile browser. After searching for a while, he finally found a complete scanned copy of a personal article by a netizen named Teacher Education Alliance on the ship. He quickly collected it and started studying it seriously from the first lesson. Qinyuan Spring, Tanzhou. High school Chinese has gone deeper than middle school. Although he has studied it before, in order to achieve learning results, he still carries the learning tips and unit learning tasks at the end of the text to learn. Because he knew what benefits his studies could bring, Li Shi was highly focused and had a good learning effect. Unconsciously, he arrived behind the east gate of the People's Hospital. After getting off the car, Li Shi walked to the Dingwangtai Jewelry Appraisal Center not far away. Instead, he walked towards a small road next to him, crossed several tens of meters, and arrived at the entrance of a grand-looking gold shop. Qixiang Gold Shop. A few years ago, he sold the 20G gold bars left by his father at this gold shop. Standing not far from the door, I observed for a while. When there were no guests inside, Li Shi walked in and the boss was at the counter. "Boss, do you accept gold here?" "Show, you're selling gold, right? Did you bring it?" "Bring it, what price will you charge?" 8 yuan per gram, less than the price of gold. Li Shi took out the gold bar from his backpack. "Oh, this big piece, how heavy is it? 1 kilogram. Weigh it down." The boss took the gold bar and weighed it on the electronic scale next to the counter. It was not much, just 1000.00 g. "Exactly 1 kilogram, are you sure you want to sell it, right? Then I need to test it, okay?" "Sure," Li Shi replied calmly. "This gold shop is very powerful." 20 minutes later, the transaction was successfully completed. Last time when Li Shi came to sell, the boss also had to check his ID card. This time, he didn't even look at his ID card and just accepted it. The gold price is 405.9 yuan per gram, with a recovery price of 397.9 yuan per gram. Finally, the other party transferred 397,900 yuan. Li Shi confirmed his account on the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China app before coming out of the store. He seemed calm and continued to walk towards the Provincial People's Hospital. After entering the hospital through the east gate, he casually turned around and then came out from the west gate to take a taxi. After getting on the car and informing the driver of the destination, he took out his phone and logged into the bank app again. Available balance: 399,889.60 yuan. I silently counted in my heart, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, that's right, it's indeed over 390,000. Looking at this long string of numbers, if it weren't for the taxi driver in front, he would definitely have laughed out loud. Counting again, satisfied. He originally intended to immediately transfer money to his mother. However, thinking that my mother would definitely call to inquire after seeing the bank's incoming message, I held back and waited until I got back. Open Alipay, transfer 20,000 yuan to it, and then apply for student loan prepayment. After the operation is completed, the payment will be automatically deducted by the system on the 20th. Li Shichang breathed a sigh of relief, then clicked on the reminder message sent by the construction line, looked at the numbers on it, and smiled as he stepped out. He opened his bookmarks in his browser and continued to review his freshman Chinese. As long as Chinese is promoted from beginner level to proficient level, you can gain some attributes separately. This is a great motivation for learning. Upon arriving at the Qinyuan resettlement community, I scanned the QR code to make payment before getting off the car. My phone got stuck and I couldn't help but think of changing my phone. Li Shi looked at the time and before 11 o'clock, he transferred 50,000 yuan to his mother first. He didn't transfer more at once, so he used this 50,000 yuan to pay off the remaining debts of the family first. The days are still long. After the transfer, I quickly clicked to open the Jade app, found 3 mobile phones previously added in the shopping cart, struggled for a while, and finally chose the Black Honor 70, 12G plus 512G configuration. The actual payment was 3,099 yuan, because the order was placed before 11.10, it will be delivered this afternoon. Looking at the successfully paid orders, Li Shi felt a sense of reality. He did indeed have money. The feeling of buying whatever you want with money is charming and charming. Although he only spent more than 3,000 yuan, which may not be as much as the breakfast cost of some wealthy second-generation people, he still stood still and pondered for a while before continuing back. We don't compare ourselves to others, we just compare ourselves. As long as we keep learning, we will become richer and richer in the future. Every month we become richer, and every year we become richer. Also, the body will become stronger year by year. Returning to his residence, his mother's phone had not yet been called. He checked the transfer progress and it showed that it had been completed, so he dialed it. The phone rang 5 times before connecting. Stone, why are you calling at this moment? I'm picking up insoles with your second aunt and the others. The angry voice of Li Mu and Zhou Xiaocui came from the other end of the phone. That year, her mother was seriously ill and emptied her family, but fortunately, the surgery was successful and her body recovered very well. However, Li Shi still did not allow her to do heavy physical work in the fields. However, she could not stay idle and knew that the family had debts to repay and did not want to rely solely on her son. Therefore, she raised a few pigs and usually worked with the village ants to pay for insoles and earn some handicraft fees. Mom, I recently received a large bonus for a project and just transferred 50,000 yuan to you. Have you received it yet? When talking to elders, sometimes you need to coax them and tell white lies. After chatting for more than 10 minutes, Li Shi hung up the phone and collapsed on the bed with ease, as if unloading 1,000 pounds of heavy burden. He lay there without even wanting to move his fingers. After lying down for half an hour, he finally got up, turned on the computer, and continued learning with a new mindset. The next wealth attribute point and physique attribute point are waving at him. Chapter 4. Liver Night, Proficient in Chinese. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. From 12 o'clock until after 5 o'clock in the evening, he finally passed through all the Chinese language in the first year of high school solidly. He glanced at the learning panel and saw that the Chinese he was learning was still, beginner plus, but he knew it was almost there. If you finish reviewing the Chinese language in the second volume of the first year of high school, you should be able to upgrade. Li Shi stood up from the table, stretched lazily, and moved his body for a while. The simple folding dining table is very low, and it feels uncomfortable to study all afternoon. If it weren't for an increase in physical fitness to 10.5, it would have caused back pain and soreness. Serious study can make a person's mentality calm. After studying all afternoon, Li Shi became calm and pondered what to eat at night when a delivery phone called and the phone he bought in the morning arrived. He went downstairs to get the express. He immediately unpacked the package and replaced the card. The new mobile phone was really good. The configuration of 12G plus 512G was very smooth to use. After installing Meituan, he ordered a takeaway, with bacon, diced radish and little pan rice for 18 yuan each. There is still a balance of 320,000 yuan on his ICBC card, but he did not indulge in eating and drinking. It is not that he is reluctant to spend money, mainly because he feels that it is not yet time to enjoy it. Hurry up and deal with it, so that he can continue to work hard to improve the Chinese language textbook for the first and second volumes of Liver High School. Upgrade as soon as possible is the way. While waiting for the meal, he looked at the tablet online and planned to buy one, which would be convenient for learning anytime, anywhere. The bulky conscience laptop on the dining table should be phased out. There are too many electronic product styles now, and after struggling for a while, he decided to choose Huawei Office tablets and ordered a MateBook E, i5-16G plus 512G configuration with a smart magnetic keyboard from a self-operated store on JD.com. Because the price was more than 6,000 yuan, he read the comments before buying, and searched several forums he often went to. When the little pan rice was finished, he chose the blue one to place an order for payment. After making the payment, there was soon a bank transaction fee deduction reminder text message. Seeing the deducted number and balance, Li Shi felt that his mentality was a bit different from when he bought a phone in the morning. Sure enough, as the old saying goes, it's difficult to transition from luxury to frugality, but it's quite easy to transition from frugality to luxury. He just wanted to try the effect of the new machine's video brush. Unexpectedly, as soon as he opened TikTok, Big Data kept pushing him the beautiful little sister of Big Bear's long legs, one after another. There were dancers, yoga practitioners, and finger dancers. The most unusual thing was that there was a young lady who played tongue dance. The pink tongue was called a long and flexible one. It came directly to a physical version of the tongue lotus flower. Li Shi was very smart. He immediately clicked on her homepage and brushed from beginning to end. The time passed more than half an hour unconsciously. Red pink skull, it's delaying my studies. It's making my mind full of pink tongues now, really. The new phone was thrown onto the bed, and Li Sherdun did 55 push-ups on the floor. After standing up, I couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Previously, doing around 10 was the limit, but now I can actually do 50.5 in one breath, with a physical attribute effect of 1 point. It seems really good. Open the PDF of the Chinese textbook for the second volume of the first year of high school that has been decompressed on the computer. At the beginning, there are excerpts from the Analects, including Zilu, Zingxi, Ranyu, and Gong Shihua sitting, and The Story of Qi Huan and Jin Wen. After reading them, Li Shitong first tried to translate them into vernacular Chinese. If there were any doubts, mark them down, and then use his new phone to search for reference translations online for comparative learning. From 8:30 in the evening, he stayed up until after 4 a.m., finishing the last text of The Six Kingdoms, and starting to read the last few ancient poems. The poem, Ascending the Yeyang Tower by Du Fu, who once heard of the water in Dongting, now ascends to the Yeyang Tower. The southeast of Wu and Chu collapsed. These poems are too familiar, I don't know how many times I have memorized them back then. Now, with the rise of silent recitation, he can directly read them out loud. In the poem, Fragrance of Osmanthus Branches. Remembering the past in Jinling, Wang Engshi stepped up to bid farewell to the late autumn of his homeland. After reading the last sentence, there was a perception in my mind and I quickly called out the learning panel, name. Li Shi Physical Fitness. 10.5+1, Fusion or not, Wealth. 1. Whether to exchange learning. Chinese, Proficient. Learning Completion Library. Nun He, Li Shi stood up, rubbed his right wrist, which was slightly sore from manipulating the mouse, and let out a long sigh of excitement. After staying up all night, he finally became proficient in Chinese. He stared at the slight increase in physical fitness and wealth on the panel with glowing eyes, and suddenly felt all the fatigue swept away. If we still exchange it for gold, this wealth attribute would be worth at least 400,000 renminbi. However, this time it can be exchanged for other substances. We will study the specifics when we wake up. We have been working hard all night, and now it's too tiring. Although he felt a bit greasy from staying up late, he didn't care about it. He just lay in bed, turned off his phone, and then chose to integrate 1 point of physical attributes. Soon, for more than 10 seconds, he fell asleep in that warm feeling. 5 hours later, around 9 o'clock, he woke up refreshed and felt his body full of strength. He swung his fist and felt like he could directly kill an old cow. Of course, this is just an illusion of 1/10 of an overnight increase in physical fitness. When taking a shower, he carefully checked his figure and found it to be very well proportioned. Compared to before, he had less fat and more noticeable muscles. His overall body shape didn't change much, and when he touched his stomach, it felt even more uncomfortable. Name. Li Shi Physical Fitness. 11.5 Wealth. 1. Whether to exchange learning. Chinese, Proficient. Learning Completion Library. None. After changing into clean clothes, I picked up my phone from the bedside and turned it on, ready to take a taxi to the company to resign. After turning on the phone, I found 2 missed calls and a bunch of unread WeChat messages, all of which were Li Guiming. I clicked on WeChat first and said, Li Shi, why did your phone shut down? Let me tell you, the company announced bankruptcy today. Li Shi. Am I still going to resign? At 10.30, Li Shi came out of the company with his belongings. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net and Li Guiming boarded his orange Cadillac CT4 together. Alas, I didn't expect the company to go bankrupt so quickly. Damn it, after graduating from college for 4 years, I worked for 2 bankrupt companies. I got married and divorced myself. Do you think I've been possessed by decay in these years? Li Guiming sighed. Li Shi smiled and said, Mr. Ming, you shouldn't be such a superstitious person. Besides, even though the company was down by the leaders above, it's not about us hard-working employees at the bottom. If we fall, we'll fall. Let's go, the way of the earth. Today, I'll ask you to relax and relax. As Li Guiming started driving, he looked at him in surprise and said, Mr. Shi, you really treat us. What's wrong? Our house has been demolished. Demolition. Li Shi smiled and didn't explain anything. Compared to the learning panel, demolition is nothing. Although the two of them are close colleagues, their relationship is not that good and they cannot be considered true friends. They do not know each other's details. Li Shi only knows that Li Guiming's hometown is in Beihu province, and Li Guiming only knows that Li Shi's hometown is in Shao city below. In fact, this is also the norm among most colleagues, appearing familiar on the surface. I am now a former colleague. At the way of the earth, it was already approaching noon. In gratitude for Li Guiming's care in the company over the past 2 years, Li Shi specially ordered 2 sets of 688 yuan meals, including a 198 yuan buffet, a 90-minute foot bath, and an hour of massage. Li Guiming is a regular customer, and it was his first time enjoying this kind of consumption. After 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when he came out of it, he felt that his body had lost 2 taels of meat. However, after declining Li Guiming's invitation to send him back, Li Shi immediately adjusted his mindset and headed straight to the Mayday business district in the city center, where many well-known jewelry merchants gathered. It's time to consider what substance to exchange for the second wealth point. Chapter 5. Jade or Diamond? You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the morning, Li Shi went to the company to pick up his belongings, including later relaxing in the Tao of the Earth. During the break, he was considering a question. What substance to exchange for the newly acquired wealth attribute points? He searched for a lot of information online and had a priority option in mind. Jade. Originally, diamonds were also considered, but with the rise of artificial diamonds, the diamond industry has been greatly impacted in recent years. However, large high-quality colored diamonds are still very popular in the collection industry and in regions with Western aesthetics as the main focus. According to information found online, a 14.83-carat pink diamond was sold for $26.6 million at a foreign auction recently. There is also a 15.81-carat purple pink diamond, which was sold for a sky-high price of 223 million Hong Kong dollars in Xiangjiang. It can be used as an alternative, and we'll see if we can earn some foreign currency in the future. Compared to diamonds, Li Shi has a better understanding of jadeite. He knows that low-end jadeite is actually very cheap, and can be bought for hundreds or even thousands of yuan. However, the price of high-end jadeite is also outrageously expensive, competing with rare diamonds. He got into the taxi and continued to search for relevant information. Baoli Xiangjiang Auction Company won a spring auction for a full green round natural jade bracelet, which was sold for 30,349,000 yuan. A bracelet costs over 30 million yuan. Li Shixin opened a browser window and searched for the weight of the jade round bracelet. Usually it's 60 to 90 grams, with different ring diameters and weights. In addition, the bracelet core takes up 40 to 80 grams, and the edges and corners need to be calculated a bit more. In theory, 1 kilogram of jadeite raw stone can cut up to 5 round bracelets. At this price, a bracelet alone is 150 million yuan, and the remaining bracelet core and edges are actually very valuable. The transaction price at the auction can only be used as a reference, but if 1 kilogram of green high ice or even glass jade is handled properly and exchanged for tens of millions of cash, there should be no problem. Along the way, Li Shi constantly searched for information on these two types of transactions and market transactions. After thinking about it, I decided to make more preparations. After completing the first year of high school Chinese language learning, one should upgrade to the level of Proficient, followed by courses in the second and third year of high school, as well as courses in one's own university major. Chinese language and literature. By reviewing all of these, one can still upgrade Chinese to the level of Proficient. That is to say, I can still secure another attribute point in my Chinese learning. Just make some preparations and exchange for Jade first. In the end, Li Shi went deeper into the question and mainly considered how to make it more convenient to take action. The water in the diamond and jade markets is deep, but relatively speaking, in our country, the jade market is more accessible to people outside the industry. The Mayday Commercial District is the most prosperous commercial district in Tanzhou City, including many popular cultural and tourism landmarks such as Huangxing Road Pedestrian Commercial Street, Guojin Center, Taiping Street, Wenhu, and Tianqin Pavilion. Li Shi searched around the pedestrian street and asked all the gold and jewelry stores he could find, but couldn't find the diamond he wanted. In the end, he went to the National Gold Center and took a look at several so-called international luxury jewelry stores, such as Tiffany's and Van Cleef PayPal. Not long after entering, he walked out again, and they didn't have what Li Shi wanted. Is it so difficult to find a small colored diamond that has not been irradiated and colored? After he decided to choose two exchange substances, diamond and jade, he naturally came here to purchase exchange samples. Based on the information collected online, Li Shi has set sample selection standards according to his own needs. Diamonds. Colored diamonds, preferably pink or blue, less than 50 cents, 0.5 carat, high clarity, non-irradiated, etc. Jade. The volume can be small, but the closer the color is to the imperial green glass, the better. I wandered through 7 stores in the afternoon but couldn't find what I wanted, so Li Shi had to take a detour back home. When he got back in the car, he thought about it and decided to use the internet, so he searched the internet. Where to buy lottery diamonds? After searching, I finally found a video blogger named Gem Sister, who shot the theme of buying gold jewelry for fans in Shuaibei in TikTok. This Gem Sister has filmed over 100 videos of buying gold jewelry for fans, with 365,000 followers. On the homepage, she introduces herself as a gemstone appraiser. After watching over 30 videos of her, Li Shi tried to send her a private message in the background. I didn't expect to receive a reply soon, asking to add her work WeChat. 2 minutes later, WeChat was successfully added. He began to shamelessly make up stories. Sister Gemstone, I followed you when you only uploaded a few videos. I really like your videos and watch every update. I am your loyal fan. Gem Sister. Thank you. Do you want me to help you buy diamonds? Li Shi. Yes, I would like to ask you to help me find a small colored diamond. Gem Sister. Colorful diamonds. Sure, what is your budget? Can you explain your specific requirements? Li Shi had already thought about it in his mind and immediately replied, the budget is under 20,000 yuan. It's best to use pink and blue diamonds for UU reading www.uukangshu.net. The size should be less than 50 points, the color should be better, and the clarity should be higher. If the clarity is high enough and the color is good enough, even if it's less than 20 points, it doesn't matter. The budget can also be slightly more, but it must be natural colored diamonds without irradiation. It's better to have a formal and authoritative certificate. Gem Sister. Oh, your request is meticulous and special enough, but the budget of 20,000 yuan is a bit small, making it difficult to find. Is it convenient for video communication now? Li Shi found a location where he could only see the wall and replied, it's convenient. Quickly, the other party sent a video and connected it. The two greeted each other, exchanged a few polite words, and then moved on to the main matter. Mr. Li, it's okay to help you find the diamonds, but I need to take pictures of the process of looking for diamonds, cut them into videos and send them to platforms like TikTok and Station B, and ask for your consent first. Li Shi thought to himself, hoping that you would be more interested in finding it. He quickly replied, "No problem, I agree. Okay, I'm currently running out of materials. I'll help you find them tomorrow. Once I find something suitable, I'll send you a video to watch." "Okay, thank you very much." After hanging up the phone, the two of them communicated many details on WeChat, including payment methods, and so on. Jem's sister has extensive experience in this area and offers two options. Either find the right diamond or transfer the money to her online, and she will purchase it and mail it over at a guaranteed price. Either Li Shi quickly goes to Pingcheng Shuibei and takes it to the merchant, where she can directly buy from the merchant herself. Li Shi checked the transportation from Tanzhou to Pingcheng and found that there are many high-speed trains, which only take more than 3 hours. He immediately chose the latter option. Just right, you can also go to Pingzhou Jade Market by the way. Chapter 6. If it is 10 times larger. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next morning, Li Shi was studying Chinese in the first volume of his second year of high school when he received a call from Sister Bao Shi and immediately switched to WeChat video call for more than 20 minutes. After hanging up the video, Li Shi opened the 12306 app and bought a high-speed rail ticket to Pingcheng. Sister Bao Shi is really awesome. She helped Li Shi pick 2 pink diamonds from a familiar merchant at the Shuabilong exhibition wholesale market. One of them, besides its price, perfectly met his needs in all aspects. In the words of Jem's sister, this is one of the few exquisite pink diamonds with a GIA certificate. Although it is only 0.22 carats, its clarity reaches the flawless level within if, with heart-shaped cutting and a good proportion. It is a natural rich pink color, and besides the price, there is nothing else to say. The merchant offered a price of 100,000 yuan, and the gemstone lady offered 85,000 yuan, but the other party refused to let go anymore. Looking at the sparkling small pink diamond in the lens of his phone, Li Shi suddenly remembered when he was searching for information, he saw a 15.56 carat heart-shaped pink diamond with a transaction price of over $9 million. The cleanliness of that one is still at the slightly contained level of VS1, which is 2 major levels lower than the flawless level inside the if. After buying the tickets, Li Shi packed his things, put the newly purchased tablet into his backpack, and took a taxi to the South High-Speed Rail Station. On the way, he didn't study, but leaned back in the back seat, pretending to close his eyes and focus on studying the study panel. The time to obtain the learning panel is too short, only 3 days, and there is still a lot of hidden information to be discovered. Can wealth attribute points be exchanged for only 0.1 points each time, or even 0.01 points? He used his thoughts to touch and tentatively transmit ideas, and then received positive feedback. Can you choose to exchange the shape of the material and other specific states? For example, exchange 10G Xylongbeo like thousands of feet of gold. My thoughts touched and I received positive feedback again, but the prerequisite is to imagine the specific concept and appearance of the exchanged substance in my mind during the exchange. Li Shi lives in Keifu District, where the high-speed rail South Station is located in Yuhua District, one in the north and one in the south of the city. The journey is over 20 kilometers, starting at 10.40 and arriving at 11.15. He quickly swiped his ID card and entered the station, bought a loaf of bread in the waiting room, and boarded the G883 train to Pingcheng North Station before 11.30. At the end of June, it was already the hot season, and passengers who were afraid of the heat were already wearing short clothes and shorts. However, the flight attendants on the high-speed train were wearing black stockings under their purple-red uniforms. One of them passed by Li Shi and accidentally rubbed his arm, which was wearing short sleeves and resting on the armrest of the chair, leaving him stunned. That feeling is like the spring breeze brushing over the heart lake, rippling. I couldn't help but look up at the female flight attendant walking by, and it was 2.38 seconds before quickly retracting my gaze. Staring at a woman's full and swaying buttocks like this is impolite. The 11.5 physique has indeed brought more abundant energy, like when I was 17 or 18 years old, TSK, this feeling is quite good. Li Shi touched his chin and took out his phone to start searching for travel guides. He went to Pengcheng and Foshan for the first time. He checked the transportation and accommodation beforehand, so that he could have a clear understanding and not panic. Pengcheng is a modern metropolis built on fishing villages, with a resident population of up to 178 million. In recent decades, it has grown from scratch and can be considered a miracle. After coming out of the East Square of Pengcheng High-Speed Railway North Station, waiting for a while, I got into a taxi and asked the driver. Li Shi immediately called Bao's sister, and told her that he would arrive in about half an hour. Because he mentioned being in a hurry, the driver with a strong accent chose to take the overpass. At first, the scene he saw on the road was a bit different from what Li Shi had anticipated. There were few tall buildings on both sides of the road, but instead there were mountains and water. After checking the map, he found out that he had to pass through a section of the park. Along the way, Pengcheng's greenery left a deep impression on him. This is a city full of green plants, as if the entire city was built among trees. He could occasionally see such a strange sight through the car window. Looking down, it was a small hill shaded by green trees, but as soon as he looked up, he found a skyscraper under construction. The map navigation shows that we are almost at the Longzhan jewelry wholesale market, and Li Shi once again told Bao's sister on WeChat. Okay, we are already waiting for you at the entrance of the market. Upon seeing the other party's response, he put away the tablet and began to mentally prepare for the upcoming social interaction. A few minutes later, Li Shi met the real-life gem sister, a little sister with exquisite makeup and ordinary features. Sister Bao, I finally saw a living person. Li Shi spoke up first, jokingly speaking in a fan's tone. Mr. Li is swift and decisive, and surprisingly, he arrived so quickly. Besides, you look even more handsome than in the video. How about you come out and help me shoot a short video? With your face that is comparable to that of young Wu Yanzu, you will definitely receive 20,000 more likes than usual. Li Shi pretended, while Bao Jie was a true social bully. She spoke with a familiar compliment, and someone else would probably be convinced to agree. The two chatted for a while and also introduced her assistant in the middle. Because the wholesale market was about to close and we were in a hurry, the three of them chatted for a while and went directly to the merchant's place. On the way, Sister Bao continued to communicate with Li Shi. Later on, I will also take a final shot on my end. My assistant will pay attention to the angle of the shot and won't take your face inside. At most, I will take a back view. When editing later, I will also check and if necessary, I will code it. You can definitely rest assured of this. By the way, in the end, I helped you and the boss grind down 5,000 yuan, 80,000 yuan. To be honest, based on my understanding of the market situation, the quality of this pink diamond is already very good at this price. However, it's you who bought the goods. After you see the goods later, you can make the final decision on your own. Li Shi quickly expressed his gratitude. The wholesale market is filled with counters selling gold and jewelry, which is overwhelming. Li Shi followed Sister Bao and her assistant to a shop on the third floor and saw the pink diamond he was planning to buy. He actually doesn't know how to identify diamonds, and searching for information is just talk on paper. The key is to look at the GIA certificate. Li Shi first looked at color origin, and Yu looked at the column of color origin at www.yuukangshu.net. The laser text displayed as natural, which means that the color of this diamond was determined to be naturally formed and not artificially processed. I carefully looked at the other data on the certificate again, and it was the same as what Sister Bao told me, there was no difference. The nearby gemstone sister also used a magnifying glass to look at the actual diamond object and explain to him, expressing that the certificate is correct, and the corresponding diamond is also correct. The thing is correct. Ah, the quality of this pink diamond is too perfect. If it's magnified 10 times, it can definitely go to the auction. After studying for a while, Sister Gemstone couldn't help but sigh. Li Shi couldn't help but be taken aback at the words. 10 times larger. He couldn't help but chuckle to himself. It was 10 times larger, which was 2.2 carats. When the time comes, there will be more. After making the payment, while the merchant was invoicing, Li Shi immediately took the diamond and pretended to appreciate it. In fact, he summoned the learning panel, and his mind touched it, giving rise to the idea of exchanging natural pink diamonds with 0.000 billion yuan of wealth attributes. He emphasized the concept of natural pink diamond in his mind. This is a method he came up with to cleverly use the exchange function of the learning panel to identify the authenticity of gemstones. Quickly, an invisible powder diamond dust appeared out of thin air and fell to the ground. Li Shi was secretly pleased to receive feedback on the successful exchange. That's right, you bought the right sample. Looking at the learning panel again, name. Li Shi physical fitness. 11.5 wealth. 0.999999999999999 whether to exchange learning. Chinese, proficient. Learning completion library. None. Chapter 7. Collection of 2 samples. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Coming out of the wholesale market, Li Shi suggested inviting Sister Baoshi and her companions to dinner, but they politely declined. You are my fan and have come from afar. I should have arranged for you to have dinner, but we do have very important work to do tonight. I really apologize. No, Sister Gemstone, you helped me buy the diamond I wanted. I should be grateful to you. So, next time you go to Tanzhou, please contact me and I will arrange authentic Hunan cuisine for you. After politely saying a few words, Li Shi bid farewell to the 2 of them, took a taxi, and asked the driver to take him back to Pengcheng North Station. He had originally planned to invite Gemmy's sister and her to a meal to express his gratitude after finishing his shopping, and then stay overnight in Pengcheng. Tomorrow, he will go to Yangcheng and head straight from Yangcheng to Pingzhou Jade Market in Foshan. If there is a change in the plan now, then go ahead. Anyway, there are many high-speed trains from Pengcheng to Yangcheng, which only take a few minutes and are very close. If it's fast, it can arrive in half an hour. I didn't invite you for dinner. Next time she live streams, give her a virtual gift as a reward. Thinking of staying overnight in Yangcheng at night, Li Shi opened the hotel booking function on WeChat and searched for hotels near Yangcheng High-Speed Railway South Station. The first result he found was actually a hotel in Foshan. However, he also knew that Yangcheng South Station is located in Panyu District and adjacent to Foshan. However, this hotel is 4.1 kilometers away from the South Station in a straight line, which is definitely for advertising. However, it looks good too. Next to it is a park and scenic area, and there is also a lake. It is only a 10-minute drive from the Pingzhou Jade Market. The price is a bit expensive, costing 500 to 600 yuan per night. Before, he rarely stayed in hotels, and his business trips were also public expenses. He stayed in economy hotels under 200 yuan. Previously, there was economic pressure to save money, but now, thinking about the considerable balance in his bank account and the nearly 1-point wealth attribute that was not redeemed on the study panel, Li Shi directly booked a deluxe lake view king bedroom for 520 yuan per night. After booking the room, take out the tablet and continue learning high school Chinese textbooks. The Chinese language textbooks for the 2nd and 3rd year of high school are newly revised, with only 3 books in total, namely the 1st, middle, and 2nd volumes of Chinese language selective compulsory courses. He is currently studying the text in Unit 2 of the 1st volume. This is an ancient text unit with a total of 6 texts, including the Analects of Confucius. Chapter 12 The Way to the Great Learning / Book of Rights, Everyone Has a Heart That Cannot Bear Others / Mencius, Laozi. Chapter 4 Who of the Five Stones? Zhuangzi, Universal Love/Mozi, etc. These 6 texts are absolutely classics among classics, and the thoughts in them are the essence of each school's knowledge. Li Shi deliberately slowed down his review speed and read carefully. Along the way, Li Shi immersed himself in the ocean of knowledge. He suddenly realized that with such a focus on studying, his entire body and mind would gradually enter a state of tranquility. It seems that the whole world around him is moving, only he remains motionless and sits quietly, as if 2 worlds are together. Even in the bustling waiting room of Pengcheng North Station, he could still learn. Learn all the way to Yangqing. I took a taxi directly from Yangqing South Station to the Shirwan Holiday Hotel and checked in. This is a very new hotel. Compared to the hotels where Li Shi used to stay, the decoration is luxurious, the hygiene is much cleaner, and even the hotel staff are more professional, providing smiling service from beginning to end. The beautiful front desk manager picked a room with a great view for him and said he could see a beautiful lake view during the day. Li Shi politely said thank you. Entering the room, he carefully checked every corner. There are too many sneaky videos of various hotels online now. The sockets, ceiling lights, as well as the power of the TV and set-top box, were all unplugged before he took out the newly purchased diamond and carefully enjoyed it for a while. This thing is really beautiful, and I like it when I look at it. If it's magnified dozens of times, those wealthy women will go crazy when they see it. No wonder the information says that collectible pink diamonds have always been one of the most marketable colored diamonds. Li Shi retrieved the information collected in his mobile browser and focused on studying the transaction situation of pink diamonds at domestic auctions. In 2019, at the Lippo Autumn Auction, a 5.57-carat pear-shaped full-color pink diamond set in platinum and rose gold, with a clarity of VVS1, was sold for 49.45 million yuan. In 2019, at the Xiangjiang Dijia auction, a 4.68-carat heart-shaped purple-pink diamond with flawless clarity was sold for 26.38 million Hong Kong dollars. In 2017, at the Xiangjiang Fubi auction, a 59.6-carat pink diamond with an if clarity, elliptical cut, sold for a sky-high price of 553 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately 71.2 million US dollars. Li Shiyue became more and more excited as he looked at it. The 0.22-carat pink diamond I bought today has no problem with its clarity and color, and the cutting process and shape. If there is a suitable way to sell it, I can provide specific conceptual imagination when exchanging, and then use the learning panel to exchange it directly. The best way to sell diamonds for maximum profit is through an auction. If you want the other person to take it seriously, you need to bring out something with enough weight. At least 3 carats or more. 1 kilogram equals 5,000 carats. When Li Shi checked the information, he saw many netizens complaining about the current situation of auction companies collecting lots. Many auction companies do not collect lots from the society. He searched the official websites of major auction houses and found that only 2 of the well-known auction companies across the country, including those in Xiangjiang, are currently soliciting auctions from the public. When he saw one of them, Xiangjiang Dijia, China, auction company, recently announcing the fundraising of auctions, Yu read a book at www.yuyukangshu.net. There is still over a month until the end of their summer jewelry collection, which is enough to prepare themselves well. Li Shi was not in a hurry to redeem. After checking the information and having a calculation in his mind, he called the room number, ordered a meal, and continued to learn on his tablet. There was nothing to say overnight. The next day, he called a ride-hailing service and went to the Pingzhou Jade wholesale market. After wandering in the market for half a day, he finally spent 25,000 yuan to buy a small Xingyang full-green jade ring noodle. This ring has a very small surface and an irregular shape. It belongs to the high ice type, but the best position has a little bit of glass seed. Li Shi is interested in this little bit of glass seed. According to the exchange rules of wealth attribute points, it depends on whether one has owned the material they want to exchange, regardless of the quantity. For this egg noodle, he negotiated with the merchant for more than 20 minutes and used everything he had learned from watching Jade videos before. At around 5 p.m. in the evening, Li Shikai returned to the Holiday Inn with satisfaction. Just as he walked into the hotel lobby and scanned the front desk, his footsteps couldn't help but slow down as he hurriedly returned to his room to study. The female guest who checked in has a tall figure and looks exquisite and beautiful when looking at her profile. However, Li Shi glanced twice and continued to quicken his pace. Seeing where learning is important for beautiful women. On his way back, he set a goal for himself. To finish the remaining textbooks in the first volume tonight, to finish the middle and second volumes within 3 days, and to strive to finish the university teaching materials within half a month, and to elevate Chinese to the level of proficiency. The samples are in hand, and the matter of exchanging materials is not urgent. Once the process of selling is sorted out, it is not too late to exchange them. Now that you exchange it, you have to put in a lot of effort to keep it safe. Chapter 8. Cold and Elegant Abstinence System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Returning to the room, Li Shi took a shower and then posted on Bihou using his phone, asking a question. As an ordinary person, I have a collection that I want to sell to an auction company, jewelry category. Which company would be better to find? What should I pay attention to when taking photos? His Bihou account has been registered for several years and he rarely used it before. This is the first time he has encountered any issues. After clicking on all the invitation answers that can be clicked, exit the app and start following the plan to select the first volume of compulsory Chinese language for Liver High School. I originally planned to go and see the answers from netizens in 2 hours, but as he learned, he forgot about it and only went through all the texts in the first volume at 2:30 in the morning. Stretching lazily, Li Shi, who was tired from studying, fell into bed and fell asleep. With a constitution of 11.5, his body regained the resilience of 17 or 18 years old. After sleeping for more than 5 hours at around 7 o'clock in the morning, Li Shi woke up feeling refreshed. The exhaustion from staying up late to study last night disappeared, and his whole body was full of energy. When learning Chinese to a proficient level and accumulating more physical fitness and wealth, the pace of subsequent learning should be slowed down and a balance between work and rest should be emphasized. Well, physical exercise can be put on the agenda first. Every morning or evening, take time to exercise for a while to see if you can increase your physical attributes through exercise. The average standard physical fitness for healthy males is 10 points. Those who are weak, sub-healthy, or even sick may have a physical fitness attribute of less than 10 points. For example, if they were in a sub-healthy state before, they only had 9.5 points, while stronger and healthier individuals may have a physical fitness attribute higher than 10 points. My current physical fitness attribute is 11.5 points, which is still within the range of a normal person. The physical attributes of a normal person are within the range of 5.15 points. Approaching 5 points indicates that they have weakened to the lower limit and may die at any time. Approaching 15 points indicates that they are close to the upper limit of normal humans. Once they break 15 points, they officially exceed the scope of normal humans. However, for someone who has a learning panel, there is no limit to it. He stood by the window, stretched lazily, and found that the scenery outside was indeed very good. The park next to him was full of water and shade, and there were not many people. It seemed like a good place for morning exercise. Let's start from today. Regular exercise in the future is also a way to become familiar with and adapt to the changes brought about by physical fitness enhancement. Li Shi finished washing up and went downstairs. I only realized outside that it was still a bit cold in the morning. He was wearing short sleeves, his phone was in his pocket, and he moved around for a while before jogging to the park and jogging around the small lake. This lake is larger than expected, and the builders have clearly put in a lot of effort. It is surrounded by green trees and bamboo guardrails, surrounded by bluestone roads, and equipped with benches and antique octagonal pavilions at a certain distance. Halfway through Li Shi's run, he suddenly noticed a woman leaning against the railing in front of him, quietly gazing at the shimmering lake surface. He involuntarily slowed down his pace and changed to walking slowly. The morning sun shone on the woman's face, reflecting her snow-white skin as if it was glowing. Li Shi took a few steps forward and saw the other person's appearance clearly. A sentence from the Book of Songs suddenly came to his mind. The skin is like condensed fat, the collar is like a sea of white wine, the teeth are like a rhinoceros, the head of a phoenix and the eyebrows of a moth. It's her. It was the woman I met at the hotel front desk who was checking in when I returned from Pingzhou Jade Market last night. Li Shi has a love for beauty, and he instinctively looks at it. This woman has snowy skin and a beautiful appearance. Her black long coat accentuates her tall and outstanding figure, while her gaze is leisurely and her expression is cold. She quietly gazes at the water surface, as if she is the only one left in the world. She looks elegant, but also has a high and cold demeanor that strangers should not approach. A cold and elegant abstinence-oriented woman is most likely to arouse the conquering desire in the heart of a certain type of man. In reality, seeing such top-notch women, as someone who understands and loves beauty, it is difficult for Li Shi to remain unmoved. However, he has cultivation. What sets humans apart from ordinary animals is their understanding of restraint. After admiring for a few seconds, he averted his gaze and continued to run his own pace. After running around and coming back, I met the woman with long green hair. As she walked, she stared at the ground as if looking for something. When he ran closer, he was stopped by the other party. "Hello, can I ask for your help? My phone has dropped. Can I borrow your phone to call my number?" Li Shi was taken aback at the words. Why does it sound like the scam of borrowing a phone on the roadside circulating online? He remained calm on the surface and looked left and right first. There was no one around. If she was a scammer, she probably had no accomplices, or her accomplices were not around. If she wanted to run with her phone, she probably wouldn't be able to run. If she had to tamper with her phone, she should have been tampering with it for a moment. Many thoughts flashed through Li Shi's mind. He took out his phone from his pocket and cautiously didn't hand it to the other person. Instead, he held it in his hand and asked, "What is your number? I'll call to see if I can hear the ringtone." 139. The beautiful abstinent woman without hesitation reported her number. Li Shi thought to himself, it's still the old mobile number starting with 139. This number should have been used for a long time. He dialed over, and soon there was a faint bell coming from afar. The two of them followed the bell as it grew louder and louder. Finally, they found a small white folding phone under the grass by the roadside. Li Shi picked it up first, opened it, and the screen displayed his own number. Then, he handed the phone to the woman following behind. Thank you so much." The woman took the phone and quickly expressed her gratitude. Li Shi politely replied, "You're welcome, it's a piece of cake." Then he smiled and showed his agreement, continuing to run around the lake. After 2 laps, Li Shi was sweating profusely. As he walked back, he saw the woman still making phone calls by the lake from afar. Returning to the hotel room, I took a shower and suddenly felt comfortable all over. It's quite comfortable to exercise. After having breakfast downstairs, Li Shi checked out and took a ride-hailing service to Yangqing South Station. He didn't waste any time on the way, and continued to study the selective compulsory middle volume of high school Chinese. He found that the new version of the textbook didn't have many texts, including only 26 ancient poems, but there were several of them that he hadn't learned before when he was in school. He focused on studying these few articles and gained a lot, especially those 2 texts on learning and thinking, which were insightful and inspiring. When the train back to Blue Lake Province started, he remembered the question he raised on Bihu last night, took out his phone, and planned to see what the netizens had to answer. Fingerprint unlock, new WeChat friend application discovered. It was added through mobile search. Autumn leaves. I don't know. Li Shi glanced at WeChat, which used a few maple leaves as avatars, and directly chose to ignore it. He stepped out and clicked on Bihu. Let me see if there are any talents among this group of netizens. Chapter 9. The questioner overthinks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The question I sent last night has been answered for over 10 hours, and there are very few people, only 8 or 9 of them. Li Shi looked carefully one by one. Laxatives, the questioner has overthought it. Generally, auction companies do not solicit auctions from the public, and even if there are quotas, they are divided among their employees. If there are really good things, it's better to send them to antique stores or hang them on salted fish to try their luck. I suspect that no one is even looking at the fundraising emails of those auction companies. If there is really something to sell, it's best to find a reliable intermediary company to bid on. I don't quite understand, but just a reminder, those who charge fees before closing are all fraudulent companies. The questioner is advised to recognize reality. Unless your collection has really high value and is very rare, others may not even appreciate it. There are too many good things, especially well-known auction companies, and you don't have to worry about ordinary auctions. Thank you for inviting me. How can I answer without a picture? Let's first provide the picture. Li Shi carefully read through each answer, and after reading it, he hesitated for a moment about his plan to find an auction company to sell diamonds or jade. Are you really overthinking yourself? Based on the previous research, Li Shi knew that the water in the auction house was very deep, so he must be cautious. But what netizens say is that auction companies do not solicit collectibles from the public. In fact, it is not the case. The main thing to consider is the value of the things. Rare things are precious, and auction companies profit by taking profits. If the profits are large enough, they will only rush to find me. At least you can give it a try. But you should think more and consider all aspects comprehensively. Firstly, it must be a well-known and legitimate auction company to reduce risks. Additionally, legal issues. After reading the answers from netizens, he thought a lot and searched online for many legal issues related to entrusted auction contracts. Finally, I concentrated on collecting the information of the target auction company, Daga Auction Company, and paid attention to their official account. At around noon, Li Shi returned to the Qinyuan resettlement community. After just 2 days, when he saw his small room that he had been living in for almost a year again, he suddenly felt unreal. He was in a daze for a while, took out his phone, and first told the landlord on WeChat that the house would not renew when it expired next month. Then I ordered cilantro beef powder on Meituan, took out a tablet, and waited for takeout while learning. After a while, WeChat rang, and Li Shi thought it was the landlord who replied to the message. He picked it up and saw that it was the person named Autumn Leaf, who applied to add friends again. This time, the other party added a sentence. Hello, thank you for helping me find my phone this morning. A beautiful figure suddenly appeared in Li Shi's mind. So it's her. He couldn't help but smile and chose to pass the verification. Quickly, Autumn Leaf sent a message saying, Hello, thank you this morning. I had an important phone call to answer at that time, and you helped me a lot. Li Shi thought to himself, no wonder he voluntarily applied to add himself as a friend twice in a row. It seems that the phone call in the morning was indeed very important to her. You're welcome, it's a piece of cake. My name is Chinchuya. Li Shi chatted with her for a while and found out that her name was Chinchuya. She was from Bingcheng, Longhaijiang province, and worked in Yangcheng. In the middle, the landlord who has already settled in another province also replied to the message, saying that for the remaining month, the previous agent will continue to help him rent out the house. At that time, the agent may bring people to see the house. Please ask him to clean up and help open the door. Li Shi gave a simple, good response. Looking around, it's quite clean. Just give it a little cleaning when checking out. On WeChat, he chatted with this new acquaintance Shenhao without a word. After eating rice noodles and throwing away the garbage, he unplugged the charged tablet computer and sent a message saying, "Sorry, I have to learn. I'll talk again when I have time." Shenhao, who was far away in Yangqing, saw the message sent by Li Shi, blinked her long eyelashes, and replied, "Okay, we can talk again when we have time." Learning. He's still studying. Is it a graduate student? Or, is it learning at work? Li Shi studied for 2 minutes, and the previous rental agent sent a WeChat message. Unable to do anything, he had to pick up his phone again and communicate with the chubby male agent he remembered. "Mr. Li, your house has expired and will not be renewed, right?" "Yes, did the landlord tell you?" "I said, it's like this. I'm no longer in this industry in Tanzhou. Can I pass you on to one of my former colleagues?" Talking about this, Li Shi was actually a bit annoyed, but thinking that everyone is a worker and it's not easy, he said, "Okay, you can let him add me." Quickly, a new friend application was sent over, and she was still a female agent. After passing, she chatted a few words. Li Shi simply and directly stated that within half a month of waiting, if you want to see a house, you can contact her at any time. Then he muted his phone and focused on learning. With a tablet, he no longer learned to sit on a simple folding dining table, but instead lay directly in bed. However, after lying for a long time, he also felt uncomfortable. When he went out to search for food in the evening, he began to consider whether he should rent a house with better conditions as soon as possible. In addition to changing to a better learning environment, reading www.uukangshu.net should at least bring a desk. And also prepare for exchanging diamonds or jadeite in the future. The public security environment should be better, as there are too many people coming and going in this resettlement community. On the way back after finishing his meal, he found the agent he had just added in the afternoon on WeChat. "Beauty, are you there? I want to rent a house from you and request." As soon as the request was made, the other party immediately said, "Okay, Mr. Li, I will go and help you find a suitable housing source. I will send it to you later." Returning to his residence, Li Shi did not immediately study. Instead, he opened his notebook on his phone and began listing the tools he needed to prepare. After exchanging diamonds or jade, he would prepare the materials for the shoot. Safe carrying case, jewelry box, vernier caliper, hardness testing pen, magnifying glass, mobile phone shooting bracket. Make a list and place your order online one by one. Because the newly purchased mobile phone camera is sufficient, there is no need to buy more shooting equipment. The work efficiency of the newly added female agent is much higher than that of the chubby male agent before. Just as Li Shi finished placing the order, she sent 5 housing units over. After reading the materials, Li Shi felt that there were 2 sets that were quite suitable. "Mr. Li, if you have time now, we can immediately go and take a look on site. The residential area and decoration of these 2 houses are relatively good, and they are very popular types of housing. If we don't finalize them earlier, maybe they will be rented by my colleagues to other customers tomorrow." Very obvious sales skills. However, the residential area where those 2 houses are located is not far from where they currently live. Li Shi also thought that in order to improve the living environment, it is better to start early than late, as money is not lacking now. Half an hour later, Li Shi went downstairs. After a while, a female agent wearing professional attire rode an electric bike from a distance. Chapter 10. Selection first. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Li Shi was in college, he came into contact with real estate agencies. He worked part-time and helped a senior who wanted to start a business and do catering work. When renting storefronts, he came into contact with many agencies. Later, after graduating from college, he changed his residence 3 times and also had many contacts. This Zhong Xiaxia is probably the most handsome female intermediary he has ever seen, young and youthful, somewhat like the first love face mentioned online. Seeing her, Li Shi remembered when he watched a short video before and saw Teacher XXX, he would be puzzled. How could he be so beautiful in this industry? He admits that he is very vulgar, and this subconscious idea is actually a prejudice against high-looking women in society. He believes that beautiful girls generally do not pursue certain professions because they are more likely to find easier jobs. After asking Li Shi, Zhong Xiaxia made a phone call. Soon, one of her male colleagues drove over in a black car and took them to see the house. Mr. Li, this suite has 1 bedroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and 1 bathroom. As you can see, the decoration is very good. The living room and bedroom are both very large. The property management of this community also has a good reputation, and the community has its own homeowners committee. I heard that it is usually very responsible and the public security is very good in all aspects, except that the rent is 2,000 yuan per month. Li Shi looked around and asked, "Is the rent still low?" "Sorry, the landlord is asking for so much rent. The previous tenant had the same price, so it's inevitable." Li Shi thought for a moment and said, "Let's take a look at the other one." Okay. The other community is not far away, and after seeing it, Li Shi felt that it was not as good as the first one. "So, I want to rent the house I saw earlier. I won't mention the rent, but I'll only sign for 6 months. Do you think it's okay?" "If it's okay, I'll book it now." "Come out of the second room," Li Shi said. "Within 6 months, I will definitely buy a house myself." "Half a year." Zhong Xiaxia's beautiful features showed a puzzled expression. "Mr. Li, usually we sign for 1 year. Signing for 6 months is too few. I can only try to tell the landlord if he can agree. I can't guarantee it." After going downstairs, Li Shi and her colleagues got into the car and waited, while she took her phone to the side to make a phone call. After a few minutes, he ran over with a smile and got in the car. "Mr. Li," the landlord agreed, "but he also has a request to pay the half-year rent in full at once. Do you think it's okay?" Li Shi replied, "That's no problem, but how do we calculate the deposit?" "Still the same, deposit 1 month's rent and return it when checking out." After reaching an agreement, the 3 of them returned to the agency's store and signed a rental contract. Returning to his previous residence, Li Shi looked left and right, feeling that the house was so narrow. He chuckled self-deprecatingly and said, "I really don't feel cramped or oppressed after living in such a long time. I just stayed in a big hotel and rented a spacious new house, and immediately felt different." People. Self-deprecating, he still took a taxi, moved some things over, and did some cleaning. That night, he sat at a sturdy walnut desk to study the selective compulsory volume 2 of high school Chinese. The next morning, when Li Shi went to his original residence to move the remaining things, he received a call from his mother on the way. His mother told him over the phone that all the foreign debts owed by the family had been paid off. Listening to the sound, he could feel that his mother had just cried. But he didn't point it out, just kept telling his mother that he was getting better and better in the city now, and his income had increased significantly compared to before. Which was both comforting and laying the foundation for future filial piety with money. Hanging up the phone, carrying things back to the new residence. Entering this Chiang community and looking at the green belt downstairs, which is like a park, there are all kinds of convenient facilities available. Occasionally, you can come across elderly people playing with children downstairs, relaxed and leisurely. It's hard to sigh that the environment here is indeed much better than the resettlement community. In a more comfortable environment, Li Shi remained immersed in his studies as always. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, after finishing the selective compulsory volume 2 of high school Chinese, on the learning panel, the Chinese, Proficient. Being studied finally rose to Chinese, Proficient. He stood up, stretched lazily, ordered some food in advance with his phone, came out of the bedroom, moved around in the relatively spacious living room, turned on the TV, and sat on the sofa waiting for takeout. I used to rent a single room, but the landlord didn't have a TV. He used his phone and laptop to access the internet and hasn't watched TV for a long time. There isn't much to watch on TV nowadays. When he clicked on the Tanzhou Entertainment channel, a female celebrity appeared on the screen measuring her body data. She was wearing red short sleeves, with a hem tied around her waist, wrapped in a full front, and wearing tight-fitting yoga pants on her lower body, perfectly fitting. Tisk, it's still a bit interesting. Looking carefully at the icon in the bottom right corner, it seems to be a variety show called, Oh My, Good Figure. After dinner, Li Shi continued to study Selective Compulsory Course 2 of High School Chinese. I have mostly studied the texts in the second volume before, so I review them quickly. On the second day, I went through all the texts, and by then, I had learned all the Chinese language in high school. Glancing at the learning panel, name. Li Shi Physical Fitness. 11.5 Wealth. 0.9999999999999 Whether to exchange learning. Chinese, Proficient, Learning Completion Library. None. There is no change. UU reading www.uukangshu.net. As expected, to advance to the proficiency level, one still needs to rely on university courses. He was not in a hurry either, preparing to take a break and contemplate whether to exchange diamonds or jade first. Placing both the small pink diamond and the small full green jade ring in front of him, looking left and right, Li Shi gradually began to have a grudge in his heart. According to the information found, when diamonds are auctioned, they are mostly inlaid. In domestic auctions, it is difficult to see those selling bare stones, while jade is different. Collection-level jade bracelets, bead chains, and so on are often not inlaid, and the simplest form is used to showcase the original beauty of jade. So Li Shi decided to exchange jade first, use jade as bait, and establish contact with the auction. It should be much easier to deal with diamonds after the first cooperation. He went to the resettlement community, picked up the packages that had already arrived from the Shenhao station, opened them, and began preparing for the exchange. He constructed the specific concept of the exchange item in his mind. Firstly, he collected a bunch of photos and videos of jade round bracelets, watched them repeatedly, and left an impression on the appearance of round jade bracelets. Secondly, he drew a round bracelet pattern with 56 loops on white paper to assist in forming precise size concepts during redemption. Ring mouth is a term used to refer to the inner diameter of jadeite. The 56 ring mouth is called the golden ring mouth, and is located in the middle range, suitable for the most people to wear. Considering that the wives of wealthy families may generally be more plump, he considered whether to exchange them for a larger ring mouth. However, upon second thought, wealthy wives also have non-fat ones, and if wealthy people buy them, they may not necessarily give them to their family members. The price of large circle mouth may not be high, and it requires more wealth attribute points to exchange, so there is no need.